Hi, I'm Chris Cassidy. This is the NuSun Network, and I'm here today in Puerto Banús with Elisa from Martinez Echevarria Law. Today we're going to be talking about what you need to know about tax and buying real estate or a business right here in the Costa del Sol. So Elisa, tell me about yourself and what it is you do.
Well, I'm a Spanish qualified lawyer and economist. I'm living in Marbella since 8 years ago. Okay. I'm now tax specialist at Martinez Echevarria law firm. Here we provide advice on tax-related matters to clients from different nationalities, to individuals, corporates, nationals, residents and non-residents.
From your perspective, why is the Costa del Sol a great place to set up a business?
Well, Costa del Sol is known for its stunning quality of life, infrastructures, and also very good connections with most of cities of Europe through Malaga Airport. This made a lot of visitors coming here annually. So this provides a steam stream of potential customers, particularly to sectors such as hospitality, real estate, and in the past years, the digital companies also.
Can you tell our audience about what are the legal steps to starting up a business here, and is there anything that we should be considering for maybe international investors who are looking to start a business?
Well, starting a business implies several steps, legal steps. It would depend on the kind of business. The first thing to do is to decide what kind of a structure would be better for the business itself. It could be to carry out the activity as a sole trader, or maybe setting up a limited liability company, an SL. Once the structure is decided, the first step is to check that the name you want for your company is available. Okay. And in this case, you have to register it in the central corporate registry. Then you have to go to the Spanish notary in order to grant an incorporation deed and to appoint a director. Okay. This incorporation public deed has to be filed with the Malaga Corporate Registry. After that, you need to have a Spanish tax identification number, NIF, and to register with the Spanish tax authorities and the Social Security. Sure. And depending on the kind of business, it would be also necessary to get any kind of license. For example, if you are going to open a restaurant, or if you are going to open a clinic or something like that.
Okay, so it's a bit different from the UK. I know in the UK, for example, I'm from the UK, to start a business, I go onto their system, I do a search for the company name, if it's there,
very different here.
And I pay £12
no, here,
and it's set up.
It's very different to the UK. Here you have to go to the notary, which in the UK is not necessary at all. You have to fulfill some requirements. You have to have a capital into the company. Yes, so it's very different to the UK system.
That sounds a little bit daunting, but do you help through that process?
Yes, of course. We help from the very first step to the last one.
And you'll go to the notary with them then?
Yes, in some cases we can grant a power of attorney, and we go to the notary on behalf of the client in order to set up the company on his behalf.
So if someone was, an international client, if they were thinking about buying an existing business here in the Costa del Sol, what would they have to do? But also, is there any tax implications that they should think about?
Buying a business in Costa del Sol or in whatever place of Spain is a delicate transaction. My first advice is to get a professional advice, an accountant and also a tax and corporate lawyer, in order to perform a due diligence of the business you are buying. Yeah. This due diligence would imply to analyze not only the financial statements of the company, but also all the liabilities this company may have with, for example, Spanish tax authorities or with the local authorities or with any supplier or any third party. So this part is crucial and very important to perform a due diligence. Also, it would be necessary to analyze, what is the position of this business into the market, into the local market, or is the market share, what are your competitors, and this kind of business aspects. As regards the taxes, payable taxes would depend on the kind of business you are buying.
Yeah.
And for example, it's not the same if you are buying the company that if you are just taking over the business. These are two different ways of getting a business. But as a general rule, there would apply some indirect taxes to be paid up front in the moment of the purchase. Normally it would be the VAT. And then there would be some ongoing taxes that you have to pay during the life of the company. For example, the corporate tax to be paid annually, and the VAT to be paid quarterly, on a quarterly basis.
Quarterly. So we spoke briefly about businesses, but what about, obviously I get clients, I run a real estate firm, but so from a real estate purchasing perspective, what do you see of any, tax benefits for international investors buying real estate here in the Costa del Sol?
There is no any significant tax benefit for investing in real estate here in the Costa del Sol. The main motivation is the great returns you can obtain by investing here, by investing in a buy-to-let transaction. Costa del Sol is a highly demanded area, and there are a lot of potential tenants and potential buyers who want to come here to live, and this makes the market very, very interesting from an investment point of view.
So just on that then, so there's no real tax benefit. So what is the tax normally in terms of if you have a property that you are, let's say you're renting out, if you're an international investor, what is the sort of tax that should be expected?
Well, there are different taxes that would apply, and it would depend also if you are buying a newly built property or a resale property.
Okay.
If you buy a newly built or an off-plan property, you have to pay the VAT at a 10% and the stamp duty at a 1.2% over the price over the price of the property. Then, as a non-resident, if you rent the property, you would have to pay annually a 19% on the rental income if you are a citizen, if you are resident in an EU country, or at 24% if you are resident in a non-EU country. So it would depend on its case. There is also a tax relief that could apply in some cases. For example, for those companies which main activity is the purchase and resale of properties, these companies can benefit of a reduction on the property transfer tax from the 7%, which is the general rule for resale properties, to a 2%.
Wow.
So in this case, they are having a discount of 5% on the purchase price.
So,
but some requirements have to be met, of course. First of them is that you have to sell the property in a period of 5 years. And the most important is that you cannot rent the property during this period. So it is for those investors which buy, renovate, and then resale the property.
So just on that, so they could buy it, could they live in it? Could they stay there for maybe a year, 2 years?
Yes, until 5 years.
And if they sell it before that, then they can get their,
Yes.
So they have to still pay, they still have to pay the 7% regardless, but they can claim that back a certain amount?
They pay a 2%.
Right, got you.
They pay a 2% upfront.
Upfront?
Yes, they have to sell the property in 5 years. If they don't sell in this period, the Junta de Andalucía claim the 5% of difference plus surplus and interest.
Right, okay, that makes sense. And just on the when you mentioned about the people renting the properties out, they pay 19%, or non-EU, I think you said 24%. Is that of the total rental income, or is that of profit?
For residents in an EU country, they pay 19% on the net. They can deduct all expenses related to the rental.
Yeah.
But for non-EU residents, they pay 24% of the total rental income. They cannot deduct any expenses.
Luckily, the rental income here is extremely high.
Yes, that's.
So you know, it does sort of negate some of the issues around that, especially for my clients who are maybe from the States or from the UK. From your experience, what would you say would be the best corporate structure for tax purposes?
It would depend on the kind of business and on the income to be expected. But if an investor is going to carry out a unique activity, the best would be to set up a limited liability company, an SL, which would be taxed on corporate tax annually on a tax rate of 23% if the income is below 1 million euros. If it is above, the tax rate would be 25%. For example, if an investor has different activities, the best would be to create a group of companies with a holding as a parent and different branches below, each of them for its business. This would allow him to benefit of some tax reliefs, for example, when distributing the dividends from the branches to the holding company. And
you would, as part of maybe if they were thinking about buying a business up front, that would maybe be the initial conversation that you would have.
Yes, this is a conversation that we have when a person comes here, when a client comes here to say us that he's going to start a business. We always request him what is his purpose, if he's going to carry out only one activity, more than one activity. Of course, you can start with a limited liability company and then you can create the holding. So it is something that we can do over the time.
Can you tell me about any sort of pitfalls that investors should be thinking about, or maybe pitfalls that they might normally do that they can avoid?
There are some pitfalls that are quite common. First of all is, for example, when you buy a newly built property, you pay 10% VAT.
Yeah.
In some cases, the investors try to deduct this VAT during the life of the company. This is not allowed if the activity of this company is the rental of the property as a home, because the rental of a property as a home is exempt from VAT, so it is not allowed to deduct the VAT you paid in the purchase. So this is a common pitfall. Another is to deduct some expenses that are not allowed by the Spanish tax authorities, that, for example, the petrol for the car. It's very difficult that the Spanish tax authorities allow you to deduct this as an expense.
Is that right? Ah, okay.
Yes, it is. Unless you do any kind of commercial activity, it is not allowed. And it's common to see a lot of investors trying to deduct in this in the corporate tax.
Yeah. Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I never knew that. So you're not allowed to deduct any petrol expenses or anything like that. Okay. And is that for any business, or is it business dependent?
It depends on the business, as I explained.
Yeah.
For example, if you are if you have a commercial activity or a delivery or something like that,
yeah.
Yes, of course you can deduct. But in other cases, not.
Yeah.
Not.
So
it's a very restrictive rule.
Okay. Okay. So very specific. So yes. Yeah. So if you're a delivery company or something. Yes. That's okay.
Yes.
Because you have to drive for the job.
Because it is essential for your activity, and the thing is that each expense has to be related to any income received. So you have to explain to the Spanish tax authority that this expense is essential in order to carry out your activity.
Got you. So what should people know about the establishing a tax residency here in Spain?
Tax residency is a matter of facts. If a person spends more than 183 days on a calendar year, they would become a tax resident in Spain. But there are also other milestones that, if are met, has made the person also a tax resident in Spain. For example, if they have their main economic interest here,
yep.
or if they have their main personal interest here. For example, if his or her spouse lives here or her children live here. Under these circumstances, this person would be considered a tax resident in Spain. And tax consequences of becoming tax resident in Spain is that all your income worldwide is going to be taxed here.
Right, okay.
Of course, then you can apply the double taxation agreement with the country you are a citizen in order to prevent be taxed twice.
So why is it important to work with a local tax specialist here, and what should people be looking for in choosing a tax specialist?
Local tax professionals offer expertise into the Spanish legislation, in the regional legislation, and even in the local legislation. So this is crucial to be informed, yeah, and to avoid any kind of risks, and to accomplish with all the requirements. When selecting a tax advisor, I would look for experience, local knowledge, and reputation.
I think it's really important, the local knowledge especially.
Yes,
here.
It is, because the tax regulations are very wide, yeah, so it is important to be familiarized with the law.
But yeah, you need to have someone on the ground who's
yes,
dealing with it every day.
Yes, and if you need to deal with the local authorities, it is always better to be here.
So we've covered a lot in this, and we've spoke about tax, we spoke about buying businesses, starting a new business, real estate, renting, flipping properties. We've covered a lot, but what would be your sort of top advice and final thoughts for our audience?
My top advice would be to work with a local professional, to understand the market, the local market, and try to maximize the returns, but also try to minimize the risks.
Yes.
This is very important in my opinion.
Elisa, thank you for joining us. It's been a privilege having you, and I know our audience would have really loved this content and they'll learn a lot from it. I know I have, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.